Okay, tonight's homework is on page 410. You're supposed to do numbers 18 to 40, the evens, so please make sure you write that down. Tomorrow, you're going to have a small quiz on the exponent properties, and it will be the bell ringer, and it will be timed, so make sure you study your notes tonight, go over all the properties. The bell ringer here today is kind of a review of some of those properties. So 4k to the third m squared, and that's being raised to the third power. So we're going to distribute that 3 to everything up at the top. So this is going to say 4 to the third. We have to multiply our exponents when doing the power rule. So this is k to the 9th and m to the 6th. Down in the denominator, everything down there needs raised up to the negative second power. So 5 to the negative second, k to the second times negative 2, that turns into a negative 4, and negative 3 times negative 2 is 6. So here you can see that the m to the 6 divides out the m to the 6 at the bottom. Yesterday we talked about the negative exponents. If they cross the line, they change its sign. So the negative exponent on the 5 goes up top and becomes positive and joins the 3 that are already up there. And then the k to the negative 4th also comes to the top and joins the 9 that are already up there. So 4 to the third power times 5 squared, that gives you 1600. And then if you combine the k's, you add their exponents and you get k to the 13th. On the second one, again, you have to distribute that 2 power to everything up at the top. So you have 2 squared, g to the 6th, h to the negative 4th. And then at the bottom, you have to distribute that negative 3 power to both the g and the h. So this is g to the negative 6 and h to the 0. So h to the 0 just turns into a 1. This g to the negative 6 goes up, while the h to the negative 4 comes down. So you have 2 squared up here, g to the 6th, another g to the 6th, and then h to the 4th. So 2 squared is 4, and then you have 12 g's up there with h to the 4th on the bottom. All right, so hopefully you can take out your notes to 7-3 rational exponents. We're going to go back and forth from a radical to an exponential form. So if it has an exponent, we're going to use a radical to rewrite it. And if it starts with a radical, then we're going to use an exponent. So 25 to the 1/2 power. Anytime you see a 1/2, it's going to be the square root. And usually we might have a number here in the corner as a 2, but square roots, everybody knows. So we just leave it as the square root of 25. Down in letter C, only the x is being raised to the 1/2. So the 5 is not underneath the square root, only the x is. So 5 times the square root of x. Now these have radicals, so we need to go the opposite way. So if it's a square root, it's going to be raised up to the 1/2 power. And all of 8p is underneath the radical, so this needs in parentheses raised up to the 1/2. So this is just a team huddle, so you can pause the video, try these questions, and then check the answers. So a to the 1/2 in radical form is the square root of a. 22, the square root of 22 with an exponent is 22 to the 1/2. All of 7w is it's grouped, raised up to the 1/2 power, so that means you're taking the square root of both 7 and w underneath. And in this one, only the x is underneath the square root, so it's 2 times x to the 1/2. All right, now we have the nth root. So sometimes it's not a square root, but it might be a cubed root, a fifth root. You can see here if the index number is a 4, it is the 4th root of 16, which means 2, because if you think about it, the 4th root, you're multiplying a number by itself 4 times in a row. So that is what the 4th root means. So if I want the cubed root of 27, you can think of this in a couple ways. You need the same number times itself 3 times is going to get you 27. or you can use a factor tree and break down 27 into its factors. So like 9 times 3, 3's prime, so I'll circle that one, and 9 can break down into another 3 times 3. So that means it's going to be 3 times 3 times 3. So you're looking for a group of 3 because the index is a 3. So the cubed root of 27 is just equal to 3. So the answer here is 3. Now on letter B, I want the fifth root. So I need a number times itself 5 times in a row that's going to be 32. So you can think of a number or break it down into a factor tree. So 32, let's see, 8 times 4. 4 is 2 times 2. And this is 2 times 4. And this is 2 times 2. So I have 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. I have a group of 5 2's. So the fifth root of 32 is equal to 2. And then we have our team huddle here. So you can pause the video again or think about these. So I need a number times itself 3 times in a row is 64. Or you can break it down into a factor tree. But this is going to be 4 times 4 times 4. So the cubed root of 64 is 4. This one I need a number 4 times in a row that equals 10,000. So you can break it down into a tree or know that 10 times 10 times 10 times 10 is 10,000. So this answer is 10. And then we need the third. So we need 3 times, space it out. I need a number times itself 3 times in a row is 512. Or you could go off to the side and do a factor tree, but this is going to be 8 times 8 times 8. So the cubed root of 512 is 8. All right, then we have to simplify these. So rewrite them in radical form first, and then simplify each one. So if I'm going to the third power, 1/3 power, this means the cubed root of 125, which means some number times itself 3 times is 125. And you can break it down into a factor tree if that helps you. So this is going to be 25 times 3. Or no, I'm sorry, 25 times 5. 25 times 5. And then this is 5 times 5. So I have a group of 3 5s. So the cubed root of this is 5. So again, 27 to the 1/3 power, that's the cubed root of 27. We did this one earlier. A number times itself 3 times is 27, and that's 3. This now is the 4th root of 1296. So some number times itself 4 times is 1296. And that answer is 6. You could also use some guess and check strategies on your calculator if the number is really high. This is the 4th root of 256. So a number times itself 4 times is 256. And that's going to be 4. All right, and then we have simplifying these now. So typically when you have a rational exponent, the numerator is the power and the bottom is the root. Kind of like how a tree has its roots underneath the ground down here. Okay, so the power is on top of the root. So you want to try to take the root first. So you break your number into something smaller and then take the power after it. So this means the cubed root of 64. So some number times itself 3 times is 64, which is 4. And then we're going to square that. So 4 squared is 16. 4a, I want the cubed root of 27. So a number times itself 3 times is 27, which is 3. And then we're going to square that. So 3 squared is 9. So I'm starting with the denominator for the root and then taking the numerator power. So here we're starting with the square root of 36, which is 6, and then taking that to the third power. So 6 to the third power is 216. And finally, we want the fourth root of 256, which we did earlier, and that was 4, and then we're going to raise it to the fifth power. So that's 1024. All right, here is another huddle. So try these on your own first, please. Hit pause and then come back and check the answers. So this is the cubed root of 343, which is 7. The fourth root of 1/16 is 1/2. You want the cubed root first of 343, which is 7, and then square it, so you get 49. The cubed root of 1,331 is 11. Take the cubed root of 216, and then that answer to the fourth power, you get 1296. The sixth root of 64 is 2. And the square root of 15, you can't really do, so you just write it as a radical. And then finally, we have the wrap up. So try each one of these, hit pause, then recheck the answers. So on the first one, we need to take it from an exponential form and rewrite it with a radical. So all of 12y is grouped, all raised up to the half power, which means square root of 12y. 1/49 to the third 3/2 power. So you want the square root of 1/49, which is 1/7, and then take that to the third power. So you get 1/343. And this one, only the k is being raised up to the half power. So this is 4 times the square root of k. So if you listened to this video and took all the notes, and since Valentine's Day is coming up tomorrow, on this page right near the wrap up, please draw a heart, and we will be checking for that tomorrow. So now you can work on your homework assignment, which was page 410, numbers 18 to 40, the evens.